Hey guys, what's up and welcome to Z Reviews Tech. I'm currently filming on the Xiaomi Mijia 4K action camera, and this is the full review. So to clarify, Mijia is a different brand from Xiaomi, and Mijia's new action cam is super cheap, starting at $106 US, with reseller prices going up to about $115, still super cheap. And for that low price, you get an action cam that can shoot at true 4K at 30 FPS, a gyroscope, accelerometer, and a touchscreen on the back as well. So is this going to be a good action cam? I honestly have very high hopes because it is Xiaomi, and after all, Xiaomi does not mess up that often. So before we begin, can you help me out and press that like button? It would help this video out a lot. So this action camera is not mini by any means. It's actually a lot bigger than the GoPro and even the Yi 4K, which honestly isn't a bad thing, but let's face it, this is not a mini action cam. The body is made out of sandstone like the OnePlus One, with soft rubber on the front, plastic on the back, and a metal lens housing. This whole thing feels pretty durable, so no problems there. The cam is pretty minimalistic, nothing on the front, just a power on and record button on the top, battery compartment and screw hole on the bottom, and a micro USB plug on the back. There are two things I want to talk about. First, there is no cover for the lens, it's just a plastic wrap, and once you take it off, you cannot really protect the lens anymore, which is sad. And the second issue is that there is no waterproof case included in the package, and there are no cases available to buy, which is annoying, so you have to wait before you use it in water or in dangerous conditions. Moving on to the screen, we have a 2.4-inch LCD that Xiaomi calls Retina, and it has a resolution of 960 by 480, and when you calculate the pixel density, it is Retina, about 440 pixels per inch, so definitely not bad. But max brightness isn't actually that great. I cannot find any info on the actual number, but it's hard to see in super bright sunlight. The touchscreen is pretty responsive, but it does not feel that way because of the software, and I'll talk more about that later, but other than that, the display here will do the job. Let's talk about battery life. I get maybe an hour and a half of 4K at maximum and 2 hours of 1080p, which is a lot closer to what I'm seeing here, and this is with stabilization and Wi-Fi on. This is close to what the GoPro Hero 5 and the Yi 4K Plus gets, so not a lot to complain about here. Charging it takes about an hour and a half. So the software here is all in English, which is nice, and there are options to change pretty much everything you want to change in an action cam. Resolution, FPS, Wi-Fi. There was one thing I could not find a toggle for, and that is the stabilization, which is very strange. I do not think you can turn it on or off. You can also connect the camera to the phone using the Mi Home app, and I'll put a link to that in the description below. And connecting it is pretty simple. Open up the app, connect to the action cam's Wi-Fi, and you are in. The interface of the app is very simple also, a record button, resolution changes, and the gallery. There is a small amount of lag between the camera and what the phone shows, but it's small and not an issue. You can review photos and video on the phone, but that requires you to download the video or photo from the camera to the phone, which understandably takes a pretty long time. So now moving on to what we've all been waiting for, the video quality, and I've got to say, quality-wise, the 4K is pretty good. It records at about 60 megabits per second and detail is fairly well defined, but if you get up close and personal, you can tell that detail is a little bit soft compared to a GoPro Hero 5 or even the Yi 4K. You do not get the same level of super crispiness on this cheap Mijia compared to those other more expensive action cams. The lens is a 145-degree wide-angle lens, and you do get some of the fisheye distortion if you pan or tilt the camera. The EIS, or electronic image stabilization, here is not great. It's pretty much just enough for stabilizing small tremors in my hand when holding it, but not enough for big movements like walking or running. Audio recording quality is actually pretty decent. It's not really recommended for important functions like weddings, but it's handy in a pinch. Auto brightness works well when transitioning between dark and bright areas. It does overcompensate a little bit, but then it corrects it pretty quickly as well. So finally, in low light, there is a lot of noise to be expected from a small sensor on action cams, and low light video is pretty much unusable with a lot of noise and grain. If you bump down the resolution to 1080p, you can go up to 100 frames per second and up to 200 frames per second at 720p. So at 1080p, the video looks detailed enough and it's nice and smooth, but at 720p, you start really seeing the video quality take a very deep dive, so I do not recommend 720p in many situations. There are a couple of photo modes. First is regular photos. The pics are decent, fairly sharp, and some nice color saturation, but it's nothing amazing. And there's also time-lapse, which works well. So I uploaded unedited samples of all my video on Google Drive, link in the description below. So let's conclude. The most important thing here is the video quality, with everything else being secondary as long as everything else is fine, and I have to say, the rest of the action camera is great. Moving on to the video quality here, it's good. It's true 4K, it's fairly crispy video, but the stabilization here is bad. The audio quality is okay but not great, and low light performance is also bad. Still though, for 115 bucks, this Mijia 4K is instantly one of the go-to cheap action cameras for this low price, making it that much harder for pretty much any other action cam manufacturer to compete. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. If you like this content, consider subscribing for more. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.